Hello and assalamu alaikum everyone. I am Kashif Kamran. The AAA exams for December 23 are now just 72 hours away. You have your exam on Monday, the 4th of December. This is a Q&A session where you can ask any question which must be irritating you at this point in time ahead of your exams on Monday. And the purpose of this session is just to motivate you. I would like to also introduce the panel I have with me today. I have been joined by two of my students from Pakistan who scored good marks in the AAA September 23 exams. I've been joined by Taha, who scored 60 marks from Pakistan, and I've been joined by Ahmad, who scored 63 marks from Pakistan. So if you have any questions, I would be engaging Taha and Ahmad to answer your questions as well because they have given the exam in September so they can give you their own perspective on how to excel in the AAA exams. And both have scored good marks, so you can take guidance from them as well during the session. Okay, now without wasting the time, I'll just keep taking your Q&As. This is maximum 1 hour session, so we'll try to expedite the number of questions I can take in and the responses we can generate. Okay, so far there is no question coming in yet. It's just about Sufyan saying hello and Vishnu saying hello. So, okay, that's it, just the introductory start. So, till the time we get the very first question from the students, I would just like to reinforce that time management is the biggest challenge in the AAA paper, and you should all ensure that you complete your paper within time, whatever best you can do. And every question has a stipulated time, so you cannot just overrun your time in any question. For example, the question number one has a total time of 99 minutes. So, what best you can do in 99 minutes, do it. Wherever the time gets over, move on to the next question. Don't just overrun your time on the first question, saying I'll take 110 minutes or 120 minutes. That should not be the case because there are a lot of opportunities which can be grabbed in the paper in the section B as well. We'll come to that perspective of time management. There is a question first coming from Kalwir, and Kalwir is asking the question: best to answer question one and section A first or section B first? In my perspective, Kalwir, you should answer the question one first because you have a lot of energy at the start of the exam paper, which you should utilize in answering the question number one. I don't believe that you should come to question one later when you must be stressed out and you must be more in a panic mode after completing the section B. So I think section A should be done first with your fresh energy and a fresh mindset. Okay, I can take your perspective as well on that, Taha. What's your perspective? Section A first or section B first?
So personally, I did the question number one first because the point is that that is the longest and that is comparatively an easy scoring marks. I thought that that is the audit risk in the businesses. We practiced that a lot in the classes as well. So that was the part where I had the most grip on, and those are easy. I mean, if you have a good knowledge, you're pretty much easy. You can easily identify the audit risk and the business risk, and the ethics part does come along where you can score good marks. For in my attempt was like 8 marks, I think, on the ethics portion. So it was I scored. I think I should have scored good because that was a very easy scoring mark. So uh, you can say that is a cash cow for the audit paper because you can score easy marks from question number one and the maximum, and that is, I think, you should waste your maximum energy during the exam.
Thank you so much for that perspective. Again, Taha is also of the view that you should do section A first because there are a lot of easy things you can grab upon, like risk and ethics, which are very repetitive requirements of the question number one. And mostly students are well prepared around that. Ahmad, your perspective on that quickly: section A or B first, which should be the case?
Yes, sir. I will be same. Like section one should be performed firstly because we have a lot of practice on that in class. That is the first
Hmm.
question. So and I will add that in section one we have to you know like perform some strategy, like audit risk, business risk, and there are four questions on that, like audit procedures, and then maybe you have a ethics question which need your perspective. your own perspective. You need an explanation. So I think that section one uh, will be performed first.
Okay, thank you so much, Mark, for that perspective. So both the students are of the same perspective that you should be doing the section A first. Okay, let's take on the other questions we have. We have a question from Muhammad Umar. He's asking, sir, is it possible that the whole uh, question of 20 marks came on matters to be communicated to those charged with governance, and the whole question on quality management? Ahmad, if you can just mute yourself for the time being. Umar, sorry. Yes, a 20 marks question on quality management, that is quite possible. We have seen that the examiner giving you a complete question in section B on quality management and professional issues. So that is likely. But a whole question on communication of matters to TCWG, we have not seen that yet. In the March June 19 paper, we saw communication of matters to TCWG, but that was maximum 10 marks. And for the remaining 10 marks, it was the critical appraisal of the report. So if we look at the past track record, uh, a complete question on communication of matters to TCWG is unlikely, but a complete question on quality management, that is quite realistic in the AAA paper. Okay, we have another question from Maz. He's asking how you follow, sir, professional marks approach in exam pressure. I think professional marks approach is pretty easier if you are just synchronizing your answer to the case study as much as possible. You are trying to indulge in the case study. You're trying to extract relevant points from the case study. You're trying to ensure you are meeting the objective of the requirement. You are scoring professional marks. You're not doing anything extra for the professional marks. It's just about you are involving yourself in the case as much as possible. You are extracting points from the case as much as possible, and then trying to meet the objective of the requirement which the examiner has set in. Wherever you can do some calculations, you can do trend analysis, you can identify any risk of management bias, or you think something is being done wrong by management, criticizing that, being very skeptical, because auditor has to be skeptical all the time. So wherever you think something is wrong, question that, and you perhaps you can grab easy marks on the side of professional, even the communication marks in the first question, right? Just structuring the briefing note very rightly, and just ensuring that you follow the instruction of the partner given in the email in the first question can get you a lot of good marks in the first question even. Okay, Taha and Ahmad, I'll be coming to you shortly, but just there is some load of questions, so I'll just be going through them as quickly as possible, and then keep interacting with you during the course of the session, right? Okay, there is another question from Alina. She's asking, I want to understand the prioritization of ROM in an exam question. Alina, prioritization of ROM is not something difficult. There are two approaches to prioritization. Number one, you can identify the risk in the order of the case. So whichever risk is coming first in the case, just solve it. Then the second, then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth. So suppose you need to write 5 audit risk for like 15 marks. So you're writing the 5 audit risk in the order in which they are coming in the exam paper. Now, once you finish that off, write a conclusion, and in the conclusion, tell which of the two above are the most significant risk out of the 5 and why. So you just need to give a 2 to 3 sentence conclusion that which of the two risk above out of the 5 are more significant and why. So that is your own perspective. The two risk above could be more significant because they are material, very material. It could be that there is a certain estimate involved in them. There could be something special in that, for example, there could be something the management is doing for the first time, etc. So that is one approach. The second approach is you arrange all the risk in the quantitative order, that you first take the most quantitative risk up at number one, second most quantitative, third most quantitative. So you arrange them down in a top down order from the highest value to the lowest value, and then write in the conclusion that the risk above has been arranged in the order of their quantitative materiality. So these are two set of approaches you can follow in prioritization of a ROM question. I hope I've addressed your question well. There is another question from Parminder Singh. Should we provide a conclusion para if evaluate word is not used, and does score separate marks when conclusion is required. Every time the examining team asks you to evaluate something, literally the word evaluate means to conclude, to sum up. So wherever evaluate is asked, I would recommend that you conclude. That is the very best approach in the AAA paper. Okay, another question from Eddie. Engagement partner, key audit partner, EQR partner, time limit, and extra years in case of emergency. Engagement partners and key audit partners should serve for five years. EQR partner should serve for 5 years. Engagement partners can stretch up to 7 years, and the key audit partner maximum tenure is 5 years. So it's 5 years for the key audit partner. Maximum stretch for an engagement partner is 5 + 2, 7 years, and for EQR partner it is 5 years. Okay, there is another question from Nabila. So, do we add conclusion para in part B, where it says evaluate in the requirement? In the first question, Nabila, you only write a conclusion paragraph for either the audit risk or ROM. You don't write a conclusion paragraph for anything else in the first question. So, in the first question, it's only about writing a conclusion for audit risk and ROM. Okay, another question from Narinder or Ashok Kumar. I hope I'm taking your name rightly. I just started revision, so I thought only doing all the past papers in the practice platform would be sufficient. Yes, only the recent past papers on the practice platform with the mock is sufficient. Okay, just let's take Taha perspective on that as well. Taha, in the last few days before exams, like exams are 72 hours away, uh, what sort of past papers you should be looking for to do? What was your strategy at this point in time?
Sir, first of all, I just attempted the March exam, which was on the portal, ACCA portal. Apart from that, my source of study practice was the Kaplan kit, which I did at least I think twice. Because what I did hear from the seniors and from the passing percentage of this exam was a bit low than the rest of the exam. So I tried my best to practice as much and get a gist of how to answer or how to impress the examiner with respect of the structure of your exam. So in the last 3 days, what I did was at least 50% of the Kaplan kit. That was my main source of practice. But considering that I already did all of those questions in the past as well during the whole month of August, so it was very easy for me to go through the questions again. So yeah, that is how I utilized my last 3 days. And just before the exam, I watched all your webinars once more, which I already did in the past. But just before, one day before the exam, I use your webinars as a source of just get a revision of everything. So yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Taha. So Taha is saying basically that he used the revision kit as a source of practice, but again, he was doing the revision kit before, right? It was not just he did the revision kit in the last 3 days. He just revised the questions again from the revision kit in the last 3 days. But for your case, Ashok Kumar, you have just started the revision phase, and I think in your stage, it's just the past papers, right? The recent one you can do in, because at this point in time, if you open up the revision kit and you have not touched the revision kit before, would be quite a nightmare for you. Uh, Ahmad, your perspective, how you prepared in the last 3 days, what sort of papers you looked for in the last 3 days?
Yes, sir. Like in this situation, we have left 4 to 5 days. So in my time, I just did all the past papers, starting from recent to old. So this will be the sequence from very recent to old one, as you
Mhm.
suggested. So I would suggest that Narendra should do the same from very from very recent past paper as September, and then go to the last year. We have only 4 days left, and then the mock which ACCA available on the ACCA platform, and the very last day he just have to revision on their own notes. So
Okay, thank you. Thank you
this
so
is my
much, Ahmad.
strategy at my
Yeah.
time.
So Ahmad is basically saying that you should do the past papers from the latest to the earliest in the inverse order. And that should be your plan for revision in the last 3 to 4 days. Because technically 72 hours, you cannot do much, right? But yes, at least a paper a day can make you 3 papers, right? 3 papers plus a mock. I think that is maximum you can do in the next 72 hours, right? Otherwise, you're just exerting yourself too much and you might collapse on the day of exam, because that is also a very big issue with students, that they put too much burden on themselves in the last 72 hours. And when they really need to perform on the day of exam, they are stressed out or they just collapse in the exam environment, which is too bad, right? After putting so much investment in your AAA paper. Okay, there is another question from Gul Hassan, more like a technical question. Hello, sir. There has been a lot of discussion in the group for December batch regarding the EOMP and MURGC. Can you please clarify where the paragraphs will be added? See, basically, the MURGC paragraph, that is right after the basis of opinion paragraph. So it's opinion, its basis of opinion, and followed by that is the MURGC paragraph. If the MURGC paragraph is to be added, or the conditions of the MURGC paragraph is being met in the case study given by the examiner. So it is at number 3, opinion, basis of opinion, and MURGC. If you want to add an emphasis of a matter paragraph in a non-listed company or an unlisted company, so it will come right after the MURGC paragraph. But if you want to add the emphasis, for example, in a listed company, there is one condition in which EOMP can come in the listed company. That is when the financial statement prepared on correct. So in a case of a listed company, audit matter paragraph. So after the key audit matter paragraph, right? If you need any further clarification, Gul, on that, you can raise another question. Another question from Aditya. Matters to consider on PFI is worth 1 or 2. Now everything is worth 1 mark in AAA paper. So when you're preparing for December 23 exams, I already uploaded my December 23 webinar on the YouTube. The marking scheme was uploaded on the webinar as well. Everything now in the paper is 1 mark. There is no 2 mark equation in the AAA paper anymore, except for examining team asking you to write advantages or disadvantages or benefits. They can still be worth 2 marks, but rest the whole paper is now 1 mark for December 23. Okay, another question from Michael Bob. Please throw some highlights on EQR relating to audit fees that an audit partner will contribute to the firm based on his audit client portfolio. Michael, can you just rephrase your question? EQR relating to audit fees that an audit partner will contribute to the firm. I'm not just getting the perspective in which this question has been put in. So if you can just rephrase the question, would be more appropriate. Thank you. Another question from Aditya. If nothing mentioned, company is listed or unlisted, what to assume? Taha, what's your perspective on that? If the question is silent, what we assume the company as?
Although I did not came across this instance in my exam, but I personally think what I might thinking about this is that the company, if nothing is mentioned, then you consider it as an unlisted company. You should not go for the listed requirement.
Exactly, perfectly right. And Ahmad, you have the same perspective. If the question is silent, we assume the company to be unlisted.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes. Okay, so both have the same answers, right? And that's exactly the right answer. If the question is silent, we assume the company to be unlisted, not listed, right? Okay, another question from Vesh. Do we get separate marks if we combine 2 or 3 risk under 1 point? Example, under the first point, associate and writing all the risk related to it. See, if there are multiple risk relating to one situation, for example, in the government grant, there is one risk about recognizing the government grant as a deferred income and stretching the deferred income over the tenure of the grant. And there is a second risk if the grant conditions are not met, then you need to record a provision to pay the grant. Now, these are 2 separate risks. So, if under one heading you write 2 risks from the same situation, that can only be done once across the whole answer, and the maximum number of marks you will get for that is 5. So that is 3 for the first risk and 2 for the second risk. So the maximum marks you will get from that will be 5 marks. But please don't do that multiple times across the risk answer. Okay. Another question from Ashok Kumar. Where do we want to put the conclusion for ROM in the question number 1? Taha, do you remember where to put the conclusion for ROM in the first question still?
Yes, sir. Sir, I remember that I did put exactly after the question where for example, it was the B part. The first one was business risk, and the second one was the audit risk. So I placed the conclusion right after the second part. That was the audit risk question. And I prioritize. I gave my
Yep.
reasons for the prioritization of all the risks.
Yes, that's perfectly right answer. Ahmad, is that the case with you, Source? Putting the conclusion right after the audit risk or the ROM requirement, rather than putting the conclusion at the end of the briefing note?
Yes, sir. It will be preferred because you right now you have solved the question audit risk. Suppose it's business risk and then audit risk. Then we can place the conclusion. You can easily link that with the question like audit risk. You can like sequence your prioritize your risk very well rather than you just end conclusion.
Okay, that's great. I hope Ashok, you got your answer right. So you need to put the conclusion right after the ROM or the audit risk requirement. So if, for example, in the part A you have business risk, and in the part B you have either the audit risk or ROM. So you will put the conclusion right after the audit risk and ROM requirement, and it is basically the conclusion for audit risk and ROM, right? It's not a conclusion for business risk, because business risk are not prioritized. It is only the audit risk or the ROM which are prioritized in the exam paper. So you're basically giving the conclusion for the basis of your prioritization. Okay. Another question from Vesh. If we already wrote a conclusion under for ROM, then do we need to give a conclusion at the end? No, you are just giving conclusion under ROM, no conclusion at the end of the briefing note. We used to give the conclusion at the end of the briefing note prior to September 22 exams. Since September 22 exams, we are only giving conclusion right after the ROM or the audit risk requirement. Okay, there is another question from Shawez. How important is the international regulatory framework and the code of corporate governance? Also, if there are some hot topics for December 23, kindly mention those as well. Shawez, I just did a video yesterday on my YouTube channel for the high likely topics for December 23. You can just watch that on the YouTube. It's just like a 6 minutes video, which gives you an emphasis of what looks likely for December 23 exams. But again, that is just a assumption, and a disclaimer has been put with that video that completion of the whole course cannot be a substitute of just the exam tips which are put in the last 3 days ahead of your December 23 exams. And how important is the code of corporate governance? In the AAA paper, we know a question can come around audit committee or role of audit committee or benefits of audit committee. That is maximum. You need not to know the code of corporate governance in the depth as you know for the SPL paper. Okay, there's another long question from Fasi Rahman. If we have more than required points to comment on for gaining full marks, and we didn't elaborate it each point completely, but we touched extra points, do we get marks for extra points or not? Taha, suppose you need to write 5 audit procedures for 5 marks. Did you write 6 or 7 in the exam, or you just stick to 5? Writing more than the number of marks, is that any benefit in the AAA paper?
Sir, I don't think so, sir, because this paper is quite lengthy, and achieving the 100% marks, completing the 100% paper is already a very big achievement. So I think just stick to the the number of marks and the number of points that you can write. And I did not write any further explanation for any of the questions. That was not done because I already had a lot of questions to complete afterwards. So yeah, so that was something that I did not do. I stick to the questions, the marks, and the points that were required. Nothing elaborated. Ahmad, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Maybe there is a distortion from your end. sir. Sorry.
Yeah, quite possible. Okay, I'm sorry. The sir has some electricity failure, so he might be unavailable for a few minutes. So if you could just, sit tight,
Okay.
he'll be back.
Yeah.
For everyone, it would just take him a couple of minutes. He'll be back.
Okay, it will take only 1 to 2 minutes.
Meanwhile, Ahmad, you want to share some insights about how you manage the paper. So, I mean, just not to waste time. So you can just, guide how you scored 63 marks. So that would be very beneficial.
Yeah. Basically, the now students have only 4 days maybe left. So students should revise first where the lag area, where they are lacking knowledge. Just a quick revision, and for today maybe. I think that's okay.
Okay, I'm back into the session, right? But it's really unfortunate for this electricity breakdown. Just need to do that in the blackout phase currently behind me. But I hope we can just take back the questions, right? So okay, we were taking your perspective, Taha and Ahmad, right? That extra points gives any benefits in the paper. Sorry, we got disconnected there. So just a quick answer again from you, Taha, and then Ahmad.
Sir, it's already a very long paper and it's a big achievement if you complete it. So just to be a selfish and complete the paper, wanted to complete the paper. I did not go for extra marks. For example, in a 10 marks question, if I needed to write 5 points, I would write just 5 points, nothing more, nothing less. That is how my strategy was, and I was able to complete the paper. So yeah, that was an achievement.
Okay, that's great. And Ahmad, your perspective, anything extra, writing anything extra more than the number of points, marks, sorry? Uh, did you did you did that in your exams?
Yes, sir, I did that. If I have to write, there's a 10 marks question of supplementary procedures.
Hmm.
So I would write one or two extra, but you have to complete the procedure. You complete explanation. You don't need to like the half done and you can just write extra. There is no point in that. So
Okay, so
if you
firstly,
have
I
a
hope you
time,
got your.
you have
Hmm.
to time manage. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Ahmad. I hope first you got your answer. So it's not like writing anything extra because there is already a time management issue in the AAA paper, which is one of the biggest challenge. So it's more appropriate that you just stick to the number of points you need to write versus marks. Okay, there is another question from Nabila. Sir, is it possible if report part is not dealt correctly? Is there any chance candidate fail at 49? Not just because of the report part dealt incorrectly, you fail at 49. There could be lots of blunder in your paper that you failed at 49, because you need to see if you are failing at 49, you lost 51 marks. So 51 marks are not just lost in a reporting question, right? Now, 51 marks must have been lost across section A and section B. So you cannot just say that the reporting question is the one which can fail a candidate at 49. Yes, normally the question you do in the last is the one which has the most bad quality, because you are in the time panic mode in the last question. So probably the worst quality question you do is the last question, whichever is the last question you're doing in the exam hall. And particularly the last 10 to 15 minutes of your exam time is the most impaired question in terms of quality you're doing for the AAA paper. Okay, there is another question from Wish. For an unlisted entity, is it permissible to give a non-audit service? Yes, you can give non-audit services to an unlisted company, provided you take safeguards for the ethical threats. Okay, there is another question from Jamana. What if I focus more on 50 marks answer to get at least 35 marks and the rest of the marks from section B? Focus on 50 marks question, what does that mean? Spending like 2 hours on it? I would say no, because every question has an ideal time. So 50 marks question has 99 minutes. What best you can do in 99 minutes, Jamana, do it. And wherever 99 minutes gets over, stop and move on, even though the first question is incomplete. But if you're thinking I'll get maximum out of the 50 marks and you spend like 2 hours on it, uh, it's very subjective whether you will get 35 marks out of 50. To me, that is like a very uh, difficult looking scenario. Okay, another question from Vidhi. What shall we do best to ensure 60 plus as per Taha? Okay, Taha, you can answer this. What best you can do to get 60 marks in AAA?
So first of all, you need to aim for the professional marks, 20 marks. So those marks are not difficult to take. You can take it by going as per the, referring to the scenarios, by building proper structure of the exam, by using language that is very much easy for the examiner to understand, and by referring the your answer to the question. And secondly, sir, for example, if I answer this question in another way, for example, how would you answer the risk question? You have to first for example, if you have to identify risk, you need to first refer to the materiality first. That is very much important for every risk. You need to refer to the materiality. You need to explain what is going wrong and what is your recommendation. This is what you taught us, and this is how I answer the exam. Second, thirdly, if you're talking about the audit risk question, the structure is very important, the conclusion is very important, the identification of materiality and how you concluded the materiality, how what is the benchmark that is stated, you that is very important. So this is how it is able to I was able to score 60 marks.
Okay, so Taha perspective is to grab most of the 20 professional marks, some easy professional marks in the question number one. Perhaps you have 3 technical marks for materiality, calculation, determination, and exercising judgment. You have 3 easy marks around communication skill in the first question. So again, Taha perspective is grabbing most of the professional marks to excel. Uh, Ahmad, your perspective on grabbing marks like 60 plus, you had 63. So how you ensure you got 63 marks in AAA paper in 195 minutes?
Okay. Taha explained very well. Like professional marks, you have 20 marks professional that you can achieve easily by just practicing. You have 4 days. You can practice a lot for to achieve that marks. And after that, just follow examiner technique. Like the audit risk, you have to complete the technique. You first materiality, find what is the audit risk, then materiality, then what the standard says about that, and your the correction and the effect on financial statement. Just follow the audit technique, then you can get marks easily. I believe.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much, Amar. So it's just about following the techniques which was taught to you by any of your tutor or the sessions you took on the YouTube, the webinars, and just ensure that you apply the professional skill well on the day of exam. Okay, there is another question from a student, Rotendo. So please explain on opinions. How do I conclude that this is material and pervasive so that the opinion is adverse? I did guide it about the benchmarks for material and pervasive. Something is material and pervasive if it affects a significant part of the financial statement. Now, what exactly is a significant part of the financial statement is like something exceeding 65, 66% of the total assets or profit or revenue. So if in the exam paper you're getting a percentage like anything excess of 65%, either on the profit or revenue or total assets, you will consider it as pervasive. Primarily, if something is 65% or plus on profit, because profit is a better yardstick to judge what is pervasive or not. So anything less than 65% will still be considered as material only and a qualified opinion. Okay, there is another question from Noshin. I'm just reading the kit, like reading questions, making points and reading answers. Is that the right approach? Taha, is that the right approach? Because you did the kit as well in these last 72 hours.
Sir, right now it is the right approach. If we consider the next 3 days, that is the right approach because you don't have time. So you can just But the good part you can do about this is that you at least write the points somewhere, not the whole question. Write the points and then just see the solution and check if you made the right points. That would be the right approach, I think. But yeah, that would be helpful. And just read as much as questions as possible because at the end of the day the exam would the past papers and the exam kit would help you a lot on the exam day. Yeah.
Okay, so because Taha did the kit when he was preparing for exams, so Noshin, his views is that at least you can write some of the points when you're reading the question, and then just try to compare your points with the examiner points. If even some of them, like 30 to 40% or max 50%, are reconciling, that means you're on a good track. Because in this time, 72 hours, you cannot just write the full answers, right, of the past papers. Ahmad, I'm not taking a perspective on this because I think you went into the past papers, right? You didn't went into the kit. Okay, there is another question from
Yes.
Anusha. Where to include the materiality paragraph? Materiality paragraph. There are two situations. Suppose you get business risk in part A, and you get audit risk or ROM in part B. So first you write the briefing note structure to, from, date, subject. Then you write introduction. After the introduction, you will do the part A, business risk. Once you complete the business risk part, you will put the next heading, materiality. You will calculate, determine the materiality, and then you will start writing the second part, which is the audit risk or ROM. But if you don't get a business risk question, then right after the introduction, you will write the materiality paragraph and then start writing the answer for audit risk or ROM. I hope you're clear with that, Anusha. Okay, Eddie is asking another question. Which past paper should be used for revision of block 1, 2, and 4? Eddie, if you've taken my regular course, so there were recommended questions for every part in my presentation. So if you can just follow through those questions, and probably for block 2 and 4, if you can do the recent past papers, the very recent one, like the last 3, last 4 papers would be very advisable for block 2 and block 4. Okay, there is another technical question from a student asking, does MURGC insert in an unmodified report? Does MURGC static para or an inserted para? If it is an inserted para, how to include it in the unmodified report? MURGC is not a static paragraph, right? It is a conditional paragraph. If a company is facing MURGC, and that is adequately disclosed in the notes to the account, then only you add an MURGC paragraph highlighting the disclosure. Now, because it is a conditional paragraph, so the moment you add the paragraph to the audit report will become modified. Modified means to change from the standard. So the moment you add a paragraph, you're changing the report from the standard report. So the modification here is not something negative, but modification here is something in a positive sense, that you're adding something for the benefit of the shareholder. The opinion will remain unqualified on the matter. So it will be an unqualified opinion, but it will lead to a modified report because of the insertion of the MURGC paragraph. I hope you're clear on that. Okay, there is another question from Gul. Sir, in the exam, if we can't manage the time properly, what is your guidance on attempting a question in a very short time? For instance, question 3 in 10 minutes. How would we go about it? Taha, first you and then Ahmad. Did you came into time pressure in the last 15-20 minutes of the exam? And what exactly you did to ensure that you try to fit the best of your answers within time?
So the main thing was that keep your answer to the point. Keep your, I mean, 5 10 marks question mean 5 points, and that's how I did it. I did not, yeah, just the 4 marks question. I think I did 4 marks. It was just 4 marks. I think I did fumble up that part. But apart from that, I would suggest that if you have like 10 marks for the 25 uh, marks question at the end, then I think you should just go for, write as much as possible in those 10 minutes. Obviously you won't be able to complete the question, but just go for as much points, just write whatever, I mean, that is about this obviously related to the question, but we'll just write it. There's no point of structuring the question or anything like that, headings, okay? So just write as much as, but with respect to the scenario. Yeah.
Okay, so it's about more like jotting the points down versus the requirement, as many points as you can jot down. Because still, if you just jot a point, at least you're getting 0.5 marks per jotting. It's not like explaining them in para, because if you explain in para, there is a chance that you will complete less. But if you just jot the points, you might score 4 out of 10 or 5 out of 10, which is better at the end of the day, right? Uh,
So one more point I would
yeah,
like
sure.
to add that honestly, I would say I think that paper is pretty reasonable. The time is pretty reasonable to handle the 3 questions. If you stick to the points, if you manage the rest 2 questions well, it would be very easy for you to not have this time constraints in the exam. So manage your time. Just stick to 1.8 marks per minute, and you would be very easily able to complete the paper. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. And again, I totally agree with you, because if the examining team has developed a paper, they must have a sense of completing that in 195 minutes. Otherwise, there has been so much growing pressure from the student community that the paper gets incomplete. An examining team is not taking any action on that. So that means the examining team still believe the paper can be completed within 195 minutes. It's about student writing lengthy answers, but particularly for the question number 1. Ahmad, your perspective, running out of time, did you run out of time in the last 10-15 minutes, or you came into that panic mode? And what you did?
No, sir. I did not face any time pressure. I even have 5 minutes left, which I use for my paper and just revise that. And okay, don't panic. The main thing is during the paper, you don't need to panic. If you have 10 minutes left and you have completed your question 3. Just read the question carefully. Just understand the requirement, and what you are understanding, just write that in that time. Just put your point and a little bit explanation, and you will inshallah get that.
Okay, so both the students actually didn't had much of the time management constraints when they were attempting papers and scoring 60 and 63 marks. So both the students are guiding you on the same perspective, that it's about writing sufficient, not very lengthy, not very elaborated answers, so that you can fit things very well. At times it do happen in the exam hall that something you know very well, you just pad up the answer. You just write too much on that answer. Just perhaps you have like you believe that you can score very well on that by writing extra. But what you're doing, you're compromising the opportunities you have in the other questions. So probably you need to do a balanced paper. At times you do question 1 excellent, and your question 2 is like fair, and your question 3 is bad. This is failure. But if your paper is balanced from 1 to 3, you will pass. But one paper one question which is exceptionally well, and the other questions which are not done even well, are done just bad, you will not pass the AAA paper. So it's about
So
taking the
one
wise decision. Yeah, sure, sure.
One thing I would like, sir, I remember that I ran out of time for the question number 1, and I did not identify the business risks in the question one. That was about 10 marks, I think, if I remember correctly. I skipped the question, the 8 marks question. I went on to the second question, completed the second question, went on third question, completed. Then I had some, I guess, 5 to 10 minutes left. Then I came back to the first question and completed the 10 marks. So this is how I managed. So point of saying this is, you have to, see the clock. 1.8 minutes per mark, that is the key to success, I personally think. If you are allocating 1 hour 30 minutes to question number one, if that's over, move to the next question. Then this third question, this is how you can complete the paper, and this is the best technique that I've been following in my CA's exams as well, and in my ACC exam as well.
Okay, that's great. It's about even taking the wise decisions, right? That, for example, you left the business risk part and then you came back to it in the last 10 minutes. So it's also about taking the right decisions when it counts the most, because at times student gets into the panic mode in 195 minutes, and because of the panic mode, they normally don't think the way they should think, and they take wrong decisions. I think those wrong decisions also count them significantly on the day of exams. So keeping yourself calm, right, is like very important on the day of exam as well. Okay, another question from the same student: if it's inserted para, then how could it come before a cam para? Is for an unmodified report. I cannot do anything for that. It is a placement given by the international standards on auditing that you need to put the MURGC paragraph before the CAM paragraph. So opinion, basis of opinion, and MURGC. If there is no MURGC, then right after the basis of opinion is the CAM paragraph. So if you want to insert the MURGC paragraph, you will insert it in between the basis of opinion and CAM. And if there is no need of MURGC paragraph, then right after the basis of opinion, you have the CAM paragraph. So that's the placement given by the ISA 700 or ISA 701 revised. So I cannot do much about it. Okay, pretty repetitive questions as well. So that shows that where the students are struggling in these last 72 minutes. Is it necessary to put a conclusion at the end of the briefing note? Since we had an introduction, no need to put a conclusion at the end of the briefing note. We just discussed, even Taha highlighted that, Ahmad highlighted that as well, that you need to put a conclusion right after the audit risk and ROM requirement. Okay, there is another question from Safwan Sajid. Okay, there's a question from Sufyan Juneja. Sorry. Okay, I think he's replying to another student, so that's perfectly fine. So where to provide a conclusion in ROM or audit risk questions? Safwan, I've already answered that a couple of times. So with these answering, how many marks did how many marks did you complete, Taha? How much paper you complete? 100%, 90%, 95%?
100%, still 100% exam.
100%. Okay,
No,
you
yeah,
completed
100%.
100%. Okay, fine. Okay, Safwan Sajid, sir, in the question on ROM with business risk or business risk with audit risk, where do we have to provide the materiality paragraph? Safwan, I've just addressed that question so many times in the session. You can just watch the recording, right? Okay, just looking for anything different we have in the question answer sessions. Okay, again, I think it's the same problem affecting the students. Just let me make it clear once for all. If you get business risk and audit risk in part A, business risk, part B, you had audit risk and ROM, then what you need to do is you write to, from, date, subject, then you write an introduction. In the first part, you will write business risk, complete the answer, then put the heading materiality, then answer the question on business audit risk or ROM, and right after that put a conclusion, which is a conclusion only for audit risk and ROM. But if you don't get a business risk, so right after the introduction heading in the briefing note, write the materiality paragraph, write the answer for audit risk and ROM, and then put a conclusion paragraph defining your basis of prioritization of audit risk and ROM. I hope that's clear for all the other students as well. Okay, see, the problem is the same. Do we have to give two conclusions? No, one conclusion. That is one conclusion for audit risk and ROM. I don't know why the students are so much panicked about conclusions and materialities in the briefing note. Again, that has been addressed a couple of times in this case. Yes, you have to use the calculator right on the day of exam if needed, because if you're doing any calculations, you need to have your own calculator or the calculator on the screen. Again, the same question, what's the perspective to attempt reporting first in section B? In section B, you can do any question first, right? That's totally your option. So if you think you're fine on syllabus area E reporting, which mostly students are, you can start with that reporting question first. Taha and Ahmad, your says in section B, it could be any question first.
So I would rather suggest that first go for the audit opinion question, because that requires some, technical knowledge. So would not be able to complete when you have time constraints. I would rather suggest that you go for the audit opinion question first.
Okay, fine. So again, Muhammad Umar is also asking the same question, that should I do the reporting question first? So Taha is in total agreement with that. Ahmad, your say in section B, we can go in any order or should follow the order given by the examiner.
Sir, it depends. If you have grip on the question, you can prefer that. Just do which you are know very well. You can easily
Okay.
get that in time.
Okay, fine, fine. Thank you so much, Ahmad. Then there is another question from Balaji, how many lines paragraph would we need to write under each subdivision? See, a well-developed point should technically be like 3 to 4 sentences. I don't find 1 to 2 sentences as a well-developed point in AAA. Whatever perspective you're writing, either you're writing a risk or a matter, procedures are like 1 sentences, actions are like 1 sentences, evidence in working paper is just like 1 sentence long, but other things are should be like 2 to 3 sentences or 3 to 4 sentences to be well developed in AAA. 3 to 4 sentences shouldn't take much of the time. 1.8 minutes per mark, you can easily fit that down. Okay, so Zen is asking, sir, what should we do in the last 24 hours before exams? Okay, Taha, first you, and then Ahmad. What to do in the last 24 hours? Sunday, Monday's the exam.
So, see, whatever you have practiced, that is done. There's no more need to practice any. If you want to read the kit answers, just go through it. But I would rather suggest that go through the webinars, just polish your knowledge how to attempt the exam. That is, I think, most important. If you're not clarified, if you are working, if you attempted the exam haphazardly, then there's no point, So just get a gist of how to examine, just polish your knowledge of how to attempt the exam. And yeah, that is what I did, and that is what I'm recommending. Yeah.
Okay, and Ahmad, your perspective, what to do on Sunday when exam is on Monday?
Sir, I remember I was just watching movies and dramas. Like try to relax yourself, whatever you are happy with. Because if some students like reading questions, so there is a possibility that the scenario they read in questions, maybe in exam they assume that there is a chance. So 24 hours you just you practice a lot. You had 2 months. You did very well. So just relax yourself. You can just revise your own notes, quick revision first, like 4 to 5 hours, and after that you can just relax, just meditate, exercise, running, etc. Whatever you want.
Okay, that's great, right? That's also my perspective. That 24 hours before the exam, honestly, if you ask me, I should say you should do nothing, right? Sunday you should not do anything, because Monday is your exams. You can just assure yourself or self-assure yourself that I know the structure of question one. I know the reporting rules. I know what to write in quality management. I know what to write in ethics. You can just ask questions to yourself and give answers to them. It's just like self-appraising yourself or self-assuring yourself rather. But rather than that, you should not do anything. Calming yourself, composing yourself in the last 24 hours is very important, because at times your mind is so much occupied in the last 24 hours that you try not to deliver your best on the day of exam. So relaxing yourself, just like Ahmad is also telling you, is very, very important in the last 24 hours before the exams. Okay, there is another question from Eddie. Is it necessary to mention the component of ISQM which is impaired? Taha, you remember when you used to do the quality management question? Was it the issue you were explaining, or was it like connecting the issue with any component of quality management?
Sir, see, the what we got a question in the exam. So, sir, the components we know. We have to check the resources. We have to check the cost. We have to check if we have the specific skills to perform. And we have to check the KYC. We have to check. These are the kind of things which you taught us very well in the class, and which you told us that you need to check this. So yeah, these were the things which I covered in the exam. I remember that. Yeah. So these were the main things that you taught us in the class in the I think the whole in the throughout the course you taught us this. So yeah, so I replicated that exactly in the exam. Obviously
Okay.
connecting everything with the scenario.
Okay, fine. Ahmad, you remember quality management? It was it like linking the issue with the components of quality management, which has been compromised within the given scenario?
Sir, I remember I was struggling in quality management questions, so I started practicing that questions, particular questions of quality management. So I learned the main points like resources. You have your employment duty. So remember, learn the points and then read the scenario where you are saying that if any point affect the quality, then link that point with that just um, that point, like resources. If you are seeing that in the scenario they are lacking the resources or the duty they are done not according to the level, the hierarchy level, then link that point with.
Sir, I would agree with
Okay.
Ahmad because
Yeah.
the scenario
I
have
would like
enough
to add
points.
like in exam. Yes. In exam, I was struggling with the question like quality management. So I just put the time and there are 2 or 3 points left. Then I start next question, and in the end, I just uh, said that I have 5 minutes left. So I just go back and then write the remaining points. So just follow the time, and you can easily done your exam, inshallah.
Okay, fine. Taha, you were adding something to what Ahmad is saying?
Yes, yes, sir. I would totally agree with him because the points that you told us, sir, I wrote those in the scratch pad, and I tried to find all those points in the scenario, and I just related those. I gave the headings according to the points that you told us during the, and I wrote the data, the my observations below the points, and I made specific headings. I remember that. Yeah, that is how I attempted the whole question, but that was so easy because obviously we knew the points and we just had to relate it to the scenario. So that was very easy getting marks.
Okay, just adding on what Taha and Ahmad just said about quality management, it's just about picking the issue from the scenario. Issue would be easily identifiable because there would be some sort of mistake the audit team is doing in the scenario. You just need to pick up the issue and then tell what is the impact of that issue on a particular component of quality management. For example, you believe that supervision was missing, or the review was missing, or resources were not capable, or resources were not competent, or the team formation was not good. So there could be something wrong in the way the audit was planned and performed. So it could either be the supervision was wrong, the partner was absent, the manager was absent, the junior was working on a risky area. It could be any sort of illogical thing happening in the scenario, which you just need to pick out and explain. Okay. There is a lot of questions. Okay, we get another question, at least a bit unique one. Will Sohail is asking, will we get any marks for journal matters to be considered in PFI and along with journal procedures? See, journal matters adaption. If you're writing a journal matter like fees, or you're writing a journal matter like intended use of information, or you're writing a journal matter like assurance or scope, in in like a method to accept a PFI engagement, try to link that with the case somehow. Just alone writing a practice management matter, which you have just wrote learn, is useless. But yes, the headings will remain the same, like scope, fees, intended user, something like that. But it's about adapting them to the specific information given in the scenario, because adaptation is very, very important in the AAA paper. And journal procedures, again, I would prefer writing specific procedures. But yes, examining team do give you marks for journal procedures like checking the arithmetical accuracy of the forecast, or ensuring that the policies being used in preparing the forecast are consistent with the accounting policies of the prior year. Some sort of those procedures are worthy in a question on forecast. Okay, there is there any marking changes from December 23, or is it like same September 23? The marking schemes are same from September 23 to December 23. I've already covered them in my December 23 webinar, which is on the YouTube channel. Uh, okay, just looking for okay, there is a question from Sachin. I just joined. If my question is already answered, you may please avoid. My question is how negative assurance is different from limited assurance. I'm using a self-study. Your videos are helpful. Thanks a lot. Negative assurance and limited assurance is the same thing. There are different synonyms. Limited assurance, moderate assurance, negative assurance. These are all synonyms. So that means it's the same thing, right? So you say negative assurance, or you say moderate assurance, or you say limited assurance. It's one of the same thing. So I hope you got your answers. Okay. Okay, there is another question from Rotendo. For ROM and audit risk questions, are are there mainly accounting issues? What tip you give to identify? Okay, first I'll give my perspective, and then I'll take a quick perspective of Taha and Ahmad, and we just left into the last 5 minutes of the session now. See, basically, in an audit risk question and a ROM question, the primary picking factor is an accounting issue. When you're reading through the case, you will come across an accounting issue where you need to judge whether the accounting treatment adopted by the management is right or wrong. Sometimes the accounting treatment is elaborated by the examining team, and you need to find what is wrong in that accounting treatment. Sometimes the accounting treatment is not elaborated, but the examining team is telling you something about research and development cost, but they're not telling how the research cost has been expensed out or how the development cost has been capitalized. The examining team is totally silent. So you need to take a what if analysis there, and you need to talk about what may go wrong for the research cost or what may go wrong for the development cost. But sometimes the accounting treatment is elaborated. For example, a government grant where the grant was recognized as an other income in the very first year, even though the grant was for 3 years. So rather than recognizing the whole amount of grant as another income in the year number one, which is wrong, you should have recognized it as a deferred income over a 3 year period. So this is how the accounting treatments could be. Sometimes it's very explicitly given. Sometimes your examining team is very silent on an accounting treatment. But it's about picking up the underlying risk with the accounting treatment. And that is the most important capability you have in the AAA paper. And that is where SBR plays a very crucial part in the AAA examination, and you should have sound knowledge of the accounting standards. Risk can come from non-accounting situations as well, like detection risk in an audit risk question, like a control risk in the ROM question or the audit risk question. Risk of management bias. You might even think about why is the management doing a wrong accounting treatment? Why is the management recognizing the government grant as an other income in the year one? Do they want to inflate the profits? Do they want to overstate the profit? So exercising the risk of management bias or thinking about a risk of management bias is another professional skill marks you might fetch in the AAA paper. Your comments, Taha, and then Ahmad, quickly on is accounting issues the primary source of writing answers for audit risk?
Yes, sir. There's this saying that if you're a good accountant, you're a good auditor. So yes, sir, I think that every audit risk is derived from most of the audit risk are derived from accounting issues, and that's the main source of audit. I mean, you cannot be pass audit paper unless you have not so up to the mark accounting knowledge. So accounting knowledge is very much important, and you need to revise all your standards. I mean, the main one at least you need to revise them before going into the exam. That is very important because otherwise you won't be able to identify the issues that are being discussed over there.
Okay. And Ahmad, your says on this that accounting issues plays the most crucial part in an audit risk question.
Yes, sir. You have to you have a grip on basic knowledge of accounting. Like SBR knowledge, you should revise that at least 2-3 days before exam, and just follow the examiner technique. Like read the scenario, see is there any accounting issue, then place that as a audit risk, or as you said that if there is any management. Uh, like responsibility, and detection risk and control risk. You can there's a one point like most students have a problem in that. Like if in audit risk question you can write detection risk, but in ROM you cannot say there is a detection risk. Like there's a part that is a part of
Agree.
audit, and the ROM is separate. You can that like control risk or inherent risk. You can place that. So yeah, you
Okay.
should have
Yep.
basic knowledge at least of SBR. You can easily revise that.
Okay.
So
Thank you so
Sir,
much. Right. So both
one
this.
one
Yeah.
more point that
Yeah. Sure.
just clicked my mind. So there was this example of it's just like 2 minutes. There was this example that in my paper that the company was an importer of raw material, and this ship got stuck in the sea, and it was not available to them for the next 3 or 4 months. So if you don't have the knowledge about IS 36 impairment or IS 2 inventory, you won't be able to identify the risk that are involved over there. So that's why I would prefer that you need to polish your SBR knowledge a lot, I personally think, because that is what I did so to in order to pass the exam. Yeah.
Okay, that's really great, great perspective from Ahmad and Taha, both of you. Just to add on that, see, in a scenario on audit risk and ROM, there will be more ROM and more audit risk than you need to write. There is already a question on that from Vesh asking, is it necessary to write all the risk identified in the case study or as per the marks? Suppose it's a 15 marks question on audit risk. From 15 marks, we deduct 3 technical marks for materiality, so we are left with 12 marks. 12 divided by 3, that is like writing 4 audit risk and ROM. Now, for 4 audit risk and ROM, there might be 7 to 8 in the scenario. You need to choose the 4 best you can write on. There could be a situation that there is some very difficult accounting treatment which you have not revised before the day of exam, and you fail to understand what is the accounting treatment. Just don't waste time on that and move on. You might find another accounting treatment. But if there is a difficult situation, like for example something around pension comes in or pension obligation comes in, and you're not very sure about what to do on IS 19, just leave it, move on. You will find another IES in the case study which you can work on. So because you have a breathing space, right, you will have more risk in the scenario than being asked by. So you can grab the opportunities by taking the wise decisions on the day of exam. Okay, I think we're just moving towards the last 5 minutes. I'm not taking any further questions. If any questions are unaddressed, I'll watch the comments on my YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook after the session gets over, and try to respond to all the questions by dropping a message to each of the question on my LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. So every question gets settled down. If any question was unaddressed, could possibly be that it was addressed in the session before and you joined late, so that question has not been entertained. Okay, just in the last few minutes, I will be taking the final advice from Taha and Ahmad on how to excel in the triple exams. I will be giving my own advice as well for how to ensure you get success for December 23 exams in AAA. Firstly, if I just wrap up things up, and then I'll take 1 minute each from Taha and Ahmad to add value to how you can pass the AAA paper, because they've actually passed it in the September 23 exams with very high marks. Now, what I believe is you have 72 hours, and every one of you needs to self-analyze yourself where you are standing now. Some of you just talked to me before the session that you just got a leave in this week, and you were very much occupied with the office work, and you could not study much. Now, that is a situation where you have to study for the next 72 hours. You cannot just say, okay, Sunday, I'll relax. No. Yes, there is a student who was studying for the last 2.5 months and has practiced a lot of questions, have submitted assignments, have gone over the syllabus. For you, you should relax on Sunday. So every student needs to see his or her perspective where you are standing today, how much confident you are for Monday, and according to that you need to plan your next 72 hours. So for a certain student, Sunday could be off, but for another student, Sunday may not be off. So that is like very, very important how you utilize that. Lastly, on the day of exam, you have done a very good practice. You have prepared yourself excellently well for AAA. But on Monday, in 195 minutes, uh, you got panic. you got collapsed, you took the wrong decision, all your effort will go waste. Because when you have prepared yourself so well and you're sitting on Monday in a computer based exam and you have 195 minutes, it's about taking the right decision there. Because if you take the wrong decisions on Monday, your entire effort goes wasted. You need to decide what is best for you to get 50 marks firstly. That should be your first threshold. Try to grab opportunities, try to complete each question within stipulated time. If you don't know a certain requirement, don't let that requirement spoil your 100 marks. There could be a 6 marks question or an 8 marks question which you don't know, but why are you spoiling your 92 marks or 90 marks just for that 8 to 10 marks requirement? You can still pass, you can still get 50 marks out of 90. But at times what happens with student is that there is a 6 marks requirement, there is an 8 marks requirement, and they don't know it, and they start to overthink on that, and they keep spoiling the opportunities they have in the remaining 90% of the paper. So it's about taking the wise decisions. It's about taking the best of the decisions which can ensure you pass, because you have spent monetary as well for your examination fees. You have given the tutor fees as well. So you've already invested in terms of your efforts, in terms of amount. So try to take wise decisions and don't let your money get wasted, your efforts gets wasted, and the amount of stress you have taken in the last 2.5 months as well. So I wish you all the very best of luck for your upcoming exams on Monday. I hope you do your best on Monday, keeping yourself calm and controlling your nerves, because that is very, very important. Now, quickly taking some tips from Taha first and Ahmad. Ahmad, if you can just put off your microphone for 1 minute, because there's a lot of backdrop voice which is distracting. Okay, thank you so much. Taha, if you can speak for next 1 to 2 minutes, giving your final advice for students appearing for exams on Monday.
So, firstly, I would just say that those students who have studied for the past 2 months, just go through your notes, whatever you've prepared. Just get the idea of all the accounting knowledge that you've already been taking in the last 2 or 3 months. Secondly, just go through, all the questions that you've already practiced. Just go through all those you might have prepared some points. Just go through those points. Just get, as much as, no, revision as possible. Thirdly, like sir said, that don't mess up that day by thinking that you don't know. You have already practiced a lot, you know everything. Now it's time to produce that on the result day. If you don't know a question, like I did not know this question, how to audit inventory with respect to data analytics. That was in my question, but that is something that I did on through the knowledge that I gained throughout the 2 or 3 months during my study. So that is how. So don't mess up your whole exam just because you don't know one or two parts. So don't mess up. Just go in there with your with all the motivation, with all the determination to pass the exam, and yeah, you will do wonders. All the very best.
Okay, I'll just sum up what Taha said. Ahmad, your perspective on what should a student do finally on Monday to excel? Just assume yours, you giving exams in September. What you did?
Sir, we have 3 days left. Uh, so in my case, if I will give the exam, then today I just revise myself all the notes, go through my all notes that I prepared last 2 months, and from tomorrow I will start practicing the questions like the recent mock in ACCA website and the very recent past paper in one day, and then after that quick revise all the knowledge that I should have, like SBR knowledge, a basic concept of accounting. Should revise that, and we should see that where we are lacking in that area. Just a quick revise or go through, or you can like uh, they can see your video on that point. And the very last day, just relax yourself, and before exam, just you can eat chocolate, like they can it can relax your mind as well. And in during the exam, just don't panic. Start the exam, just multiply the just you have before exam you have 10 minutes in which you can just read the instructions etc. In that time you can just write on the paper that you have like the time that you should give in each question, plus the type of question you can like get, and the main concept on the area you are lacking you can write on that paper. Like in case if you are seeing in the exam that question, you can just see the paper, you can follow the instruction you have written before the exam like in 10 minutes. You can use that as well. And during the exam if any question you are struggling with, just don't panic. You can, like, there are two options. You are panicking and just ruin your all question your our paper, or the other option is you can just skip that question at for the time being. And you can, as in my case, I was struggling in quality management question. I just write which I know. I draw the points like 6 7 points. I just need to write 10 points on that question. And uh, and I just skip that question. That was the first time in exam that I skipping any question. So that decision is very that decision was very important. So after completing the exam, I had 5 minutes left. I just go back and I write all remaining 4 points, and I just completed my paper. So just don't panic, relax yourself, and just go through your syllabus. And if you are lacking in any area, you can just today revise that. And after like from tomorrow, you just can practice 2 days. And uh, you will inshallah you did you put a lot of work in this paper. And you will inshallah perform very well.
Okay, thank you so much, Ahmad, for that, and Taha as well for your last minute tips and guidance what student can do in the next 72 hours ahead of their exams. I hope you've got experience, the first-hand experience from Taha, who scored 60 marks in AAA September 23 exams from Pakistan, and Muhammad Amaduddin scoring 63 in AAA September 23 exams from Pakistan. I hope you got their perspective, how they excel, how they scored 60 plus marks in AAA, because that itself is a very good score. Because at times, students struggle even to get 50 marks in the AAA paper, and has one of the lowest pass rate in strategic optional level exams for ACCA. So 60 itself is a big score in AAA, right? So I hope you will take the guidance given to you by Ahmad and Taha in the session today, as well as the guidance given to you by myself. And any questions which were unaddressed, don't be worried about it. In the next 24 hours, all the questions will be answered on my YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook pages. So you will be getting response to all your questions. And still, you have my WhatsApp group. You can ask questions to me in the WhatsApp group as well. Thank you very much, Taha, for taking time out at a quick notice
Thank you so much,
and
sir. No,
joining the
no issue, sir.
session. Okay, and thank you so much, Ahmad, for taking the time out and joining the session at a very short notice as well, right?
You're welcome, sir.
Much Yeah, much happy to see you both in the session. And all the best if you are giving any exams in December as well, or any future goals of your life. I wish you all the very best for that. And
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for
all the
having us.
best to my students. Yes, you are welcome. And all the very best to my students appearing for AAA December 23 exams on Monday. Wish you all the best and success. It's time to say you goodbye from this social media live session. Thank you. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.